Chuck, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Phoebe. How are you?
Great. It's an honor to have you in our podcast. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, it's great to be on.
Hello, viewers. Welcome to another Talk to Phoebe podcast where we explore leadership, entrepreneurship, innovation, and the people transforming the future of business. I'm your host, Phoebe. Today, I'm excited to welcome Chuck Blakeman. Chuck is the founder and the chief transformation officer of Crankset Group, a globally recognized speaker, TEDx presenter, best-selling author, and business transformation expert. Over his career, Chuck has founded and grown 13 businesses in 10 countries across 4 continents. His clients include some of the world's most respected organizations like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Oracle, HP, Merck, and Novartis. Through his books, speaking, and coaching, Chuck helps business owners escape founders' dependency, create sustaining organization, and build company where people think and act like owners. Chuck, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much, Phoebe. It's great to be with you.
Okay, so let's dive in. Chuck, you've built businesses across industry and continent. What first sparked your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, it's a great question because when I was growing up, I graduated near the bottom of my class in high school, and I thought I was stupid. Turned out I had some things like ADHD and dyslexia and things they didn't know what they were back then. They just thought I was not going to be able to make it. So they told me to join the Army because that's probably the only people who would hire me. And while I was in the Army, I mistakenly just started doing some things that seemed to make me a little bit of money. And I spent 6 years in the Army and got out and continued to do that. And I think what started me the reason I'm on this journey is when I was in my early 20s, probably 20 or 21, I read a book, and it was about a guy who he had a thing he said about how he viewed the world around him that I embraced. He asked this question: why do what others can and will do when there is so much to be done that others can't or won't do? And that's very much an entrepreneurial view of the world. And that was my view of the world growing up. I was always different. I was always odd. If people wanted to go left, I wanted to go right. And so I was always looking for the exception to the rule. And I think that's an entrepreneurial view of the world. I think business owners are different than entrepreneurs. Business owners get into something and they stick to it their whole lives. Like Bill Gates, he would be a business owner. He's not an entrepreneur. He stayed with one thing his whole life. That's what business owners do. And most people are business owners. That's a good thing. A few people are crazy entrepreneurs who will get involved in things. They don't have any idea what's going on, but they know it's a good thing, or they sense it's a good thing, or it needs to happen. I have no idea about it. I don't know anything about it, but I'm going to make it happen. And they do that over and over again, multiple times. So entrepreneurs would be like Steve Jobs or Richard Branson, who has 460 companies and probably 400 plus of them he knows nothing about. He doesn't know what to do. But that's the entrepreneurial disease, is to say, why do what others can and will do when there's so much to be done that others can't or won't do? So that's always been my view of the world. I look at what people are doing, and if there's something that somebody isn't doing, or somebody says, especially if they say that can't be done, then that really gets me going. Because it's in my blood from where I came from as a kid. And that's why we ended up doing what we're doing now. We have small business mastermind groups around the world to help small business owners. And we do small business coaching and we call it advisory. Because somebody told me we can't help small business owners because they're the ones that need it the most, but they don't have any money. So there's no way to do business advisory or to help small business owners. Oh, really? So that sent me on a journey with that. And here we are today, helping small business owners around.
Awesome. You've challenged some of the most deeply held beliefs in business. Your book, Making Money is Killing Your Business, has one of the most provocative titles in business literature. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, Phoebe, what I mean by it is literally this, that if you go into business to make money, you're actually likely to make very little of it. That is a terrible motivation to go into business. It's the desire to make money that will actually keep you from making it. It's just the opposite. And the reason for that is multiple, but the biggest one is, Phoebe, making money is not an empowering vision. It's not this impassioned thing that will take you through the tough times. When you're not making money, you're trying to make money doesn't keep you going because you're not making any of it. But if you have a bigger reason to be in business because you want to solve a problem, or you want to help certain people, or you want to be transformative, then of course I have to make it through this period where I'm not making money. So I observed that with myself in the 13 businesses I built. That there were a couple of them, not many. Most of them were passion projects. And a couple of them were, well, this looks like a good way to make money. And those never panned out well. So that's the biggest reason to say making money is killing your business. What causes your business to go well, let's fill in the blank, is to have a purpose in life that is much bigger than your business.
Yeah.
I think it's Mark Twain. Yeah, Mark Twain never said this, but he gets attributed with this a lot. The two most important days in our lives, the day we're born and the day we figure out why. And most people haven't spent any energy on their why. They spend more time planning a 2-week vacation every year than they have their entire lives. Saying, why am I? Wouldn't it be great instead of walking around and saying, what do you do? Which is a transactional performative question. If we walked around to people we've never met and said, why are you? Yeah. And let's see what the question is. Let's see what the answer is to that. Those people make a lot more money than people who are chasing.
Okay, that's awesome. That goes to answer my next question. What's the difference between making money and creating value?
Yeah, well, I have a big burn my saddle on this one because I have a different view of capitalism than most have. I'm in the middle of writing either a paper or a book that I've been writing now for many years. And I want to make sure I get it right because people are going to get angry when I put it out. But it's the title of it, the working title is, You Don't Hate Capitalism, You Just Think You Do. And what I mean by that is that making money and adding value are very different things. Making money is a what I would call an industrialist's view of the world. The Industrial Revolution, those guys, they're great examples. Almost every one of them went into something they didn't know what it was about. But they did it specifically to make money.
Yeah.
And they did it by not adding value, but by subtracting value. Good business always adds value. Lousy business subtracts value in order to get its value. So all of them figured out, how can I contribute as little as I have to the world around me in order to get back as much as I want? So making money is about subtracting value. I'm just going to make money and I really don't care how I make it. True capitalism, which goes way back to two guys in a cave trading an axe and a hatchet, that's capitalism. Everybody got value. They all agreed on the terms and they got value. Communes are run that way. They add value. I'll cook the food, you grow the food. I'll do the dishes. Everybody. That's where we're all adding value. So it is really, that's what we can get passionate about is how do we add value to the world around us? Not how do we just make pencils.
Yeah.
What do our pencils do for the people in the world around us? Let's add value. Let's not try and just make money.
Awesome. That's very good. And this often leads to another problem many founders face. You often talk about founders' dependency. Why do so many business owners accidentally create job for themselves?
Well, we come by it honestly, Phoebe. Again, if you want to look at all the dumb things we do in business today, most of them were set in cement in the Industrial Revolution of the late 1700s through the 1800s into the early 1900s. And this is one of them. Before 1700s, 1780, 1720s, in the 1700s, 90% of Western European free families owned their own business. Everyone, and it was the odd person who worked for someone else the rest of their life. But by 1850, more people were now going to a factory to go to work than they were working out of their houses. It flipped in 1850. And we learned that there was only one way that we were going to get paid. We were going to get paid for time. Because 10 years before they went into factories, there might be two cobblers, two shoemakers in a little village. And one of them made 10 pairs of shoes really well, and everybody liked them. And the other one made 5 pairs of shoes a week, and they were really crappy shoes, and nobody liked them. Who's going to make more money? Yeah. It's the guy who everybody likes who makes great shoes. Yeah. But then you put both of those guys in a factory to make shoes, and they're both just banging a nail into the left boot. Yeah. How do you pay them? Well, you pay them based on how long they were there. So we learned how to trade time for money, and then when we start our own business, we think that the only way to make more money is to spend more time at work. Richard Branson does not suffer from that disease. And any successful business owner, you can have 3 or 4 people and understand that you should not be trading time for money. The difference, Phoebe, is this, that I'd say 80 or 90% of people who think they own a business actually own an income. That they don't own a business, they own an income. How do we know that? Because when they leave, the income stops. When they go away for a week, excuse me, or anything like that, the income stops. And so they're hostages to their business. They're not business owners. They have to figure out how does this is the seminal question in business. And you don't even have to have employees to answer it. That's just the easiest way. Here's the question. How does this business make money? How can I produce a business that makes money when I am not there? So you can have stuff, you're selling stuff on the internet and you actually make money while you're asleep, or you can hire people to have them work for you. There's a lot of ways to answer that question, but until you are answering that question, you're just an income producer, and you have this huge dependency on your business.
Okay, awesome. So let's go. So what advice will you give a founder who feels trapped by their own success?
Yeah, the very first thing is to there's 2 things. One is to redefine success, but the one step before that is to figure out why. Why are you doing business? What is this doing for you?
Yeah.
Stop thinking you're doing this to pay your mortgage or to put your kids through college or to buy a car. That's making money, and that's going to kill you. That's going to keep you from getting where you need to go. Figure out why you actually want that. So that's redefining success into significance. Do you want a financially successful life that isn't significant? Or do you want to have the best life you ever wanted to have, one where you could say on the day you're dying, this was a good life. This was a life well lived. That's what you need to find out first. That's the first advice, is write a picture of what your life looks like when you have the 3 resources in life, not the one, because it's not money. Money is only one.
Yeah.
There are 3 resources: time, money, and energy, which is your health and your self-development and all that. Those are the 3 resources in life. If you had all the time, all the money, and all the energy, what would you be doing? Write that down. And then ask yourself this question: how is the business I'm doing right now helping me get there? And the answer might be, it's not. Then find another way to get there.
Awesome. That's very great. So at the center of your work is helping people think differently about leadership. Your book, Re-Humanizing the Workplace, suggests we've lost something important in modern organization. What have we lost?
Humanity, very simply. And again, this goes back to the factory system. Before the 2 cobblers worked, the 2 shoemakers worked in the factory, they lived at home. Their families loved them. They sold their shoes to their friends. Their friends loved them because they gave them shoes. They lived a very significant life. And then they were put into the factory, and nobody really wanted them to bring any of their humanity to work. The factory system is built on people acting more like machines. And the more I can get you to act like a machine, the more productivity I'll get out of you. So stop bringing that whole messy, creative individual to work. Just bring the part that bangs nails into the left boot. That's all we want. The rest of you needs to stay home. And so we stripped work of its humanity in the factory systems. And you look at the biggest technology companies in the world, they all look like factories from the 1800s. They have stripped the humanity out of work. And how do we do that, Phoebe? This is the number one way. There's a difference between a child and an adult. One major difference, and that is adults get to make decisions, and children don't. The fancy term is agency of responsibility. Well, what's the one thing nobody at work is allowed to do unless you're in management or directors? Make decisions. You can't make decisions. We're going to treat you like a child at work. You can leave your brain at the door. And in fact, if you even try and make decisions, we'll probably fire you. So we've lost the humanity at work because we've stripped people of their ability to make decisions. What if we re-engaged all the people in their teams instead of having a manager? So leaders, there's no need for managers. There's only need, instead of a manager for every 7 to 10 people, you have one leader for every 40 to 50 people. And the teams lead themselves. And they provide for themselves what it is the manager used to give them. And they make decisions. So nobody's making a decision in a vacuum. But 7 people are making a decision to buy the software that used to be the manager's decision. He didn't even use the software. So we need to change our view of leadership and management and see that they're very different. Yeah, I'll give you the real simple difference to begin with. Managers tell leaders ask. So a manager figures out which software we're supposed to get. he calls a meeting with the Pope, and they all sit around the Pope, and the Pope tells them what software they're going to be using going forward, and he goes back into his office. That's a manager telling. A leader goes to the people and say, hey, do you guys think you need new software? Yeah, okay, I thought you did, but I want to make sure you did. Well, what software do you think you should get? I don't know. Well, here's 7 or 8 of them to look at, and I'll even give you 15 questions on what to look for and how to buy software if you want me to. I'll give you all kinds of tools. I will give you the tools to do this yourselves, and I'll continue to ask you good questions like, does this software work for the whole company? Does this software work for marketing? Does this software work for the other? I'm just going to keep asking you hard questions until you get it right, because that's called training. And when you train people, you can set them free. But a manager doesn't want to train because the manager feels like they're going to be eternally important if nobody else knows how to do their job. A leader is just the opposite. My job is to work myself out of a job so I can be important somewhere else. Wonderful question. The number one I ask people this all the time when I do speaking engagements. I ask the audience, what do you think the number one asset, the number one valuable thing is in any business? And they'll say things like the people, the proprietary knowledge, the financial condition, the market, the customers. The number one asset of any business is, so without trust, none of the other stuff matters. It's the same in every relationship, with your spouse, with your kids, with your dog. It doesn't matter. If you don't have trust, you're done. So how do we get trust? That's the question you're asking. And it's really simple. It's just not easy. How do we get trust? By being consistent.
Yeah.
Saying what we're going to do and then doing what we said. If we said, I'm going to be inclusive in decision making going forward, then you darn well better be inclusive in decision making, because if you're not, then you're inconsistent with what you said and people won't trust you.
Yeah.
So we just have to be consistent with how we're approaching life and how we're approaching people. That is the only way to develop trust, and it is the one big way to develop it. Hey, when Chuck says X, we know that that's actually going to happen.
Let's talk about your book, Why Employees Are Always a Bad Idea. What does that title actually mean?
The concept of an employee is fundamentally broken.
Yeah.
It harkens back, actually, the first example of the first use of the word manager and employee happens in a thing called Hammurabi's Code, which was 5,000 years ago, 3,000 years BC. And in that code, it talks about slaves being employees and the slave drivers being the managers. And that model has continued to follow us through the 5,000 years. So I don't have time to go into it today overall of it, but again, an employee is someone that doesn't use their brain. An employee is just an extension of a machine. An employee is a thing to be managed, like it's an asset. We've got human assets, a machine. I'm not an asset, I'm a human. So all of that is dehumanizing to me. And we've done this to people for, again, 5,000 years, so that the word employee is so broken, we can't rehabilitate it. We have to find a different word for other kinds of people. So we use words like for people who make decisions, for people who use their brains, for people who bring their whole messy, creative person to work. We call them stakeholders or team members or associates, anything but employee, because employee is a huge put down.
Okay, that's very good. So what's the difference between having an employee and developing owners?
Yeah, so everybody in a company should be at least mentally an owner in the company. And down the road, ideally, it'd be great to have everybody actually own a piece of the company, but not every company can do that. So employees, again, the difference between employees and stakeholders are very stark. Employees show up at work expecting to be told what to do, and they park their brains at the door, and they simply wait for somebody to say, go do X, build this box, or put that nail in that boot. And they know that if they actually attempted to ask questions like, what are we doing, or why, oh my gosh, why is going to get you fired? But if they attempted to make any decisions, they know that they're not allowed to be adults at work. That's an employee. So they're herded into what I call the office daycare center to be treated like children and told what to do all day long. Stakeholders are very different. Stakeholders bring the whole messy, creative person to work, and they're annoying because they ask questions. Well, why are we doing this? Well, couldn't we do it better this way? And how about this? I saw this. They use their brains. They don't park their brains at the door. They bring them with them, and they are welcome to do so. We need everybody's brain. There's no manager who's going to make the decisions. All 7 of us are going to make the decision together. And so all 7 of us have to bring our brains to work. It's required if you're going to be a stakeholder / mental owner of this business.
Awesome. That's very good. So how does ownership mentality change performance?
It's exponential. And that's the fun thing about modern research, Phoebe, is that modern research is showing that what we used to call these soft skills, that's a put down of that. They're not the soft skills, they're the human skills. Okay. And we used to have the hard skills, which is I know how to make a shoe, and the soft skills, which is I know how to be a nice human being. Well, now we figured out that these soft skills are not the soft skills. They are the human skills, and those are the ones that will actually make you more money.
Yeah.
Not the hard skills. So emotional intelligence beats out IQ every time. And even average emotional intelligence will beat out high IQ in terms of its ability to make you more money. When you learn how to live in the world around you as a human being and live in community and be kind to people and ask good questions and be curious and be others-centered, all of those things will make you more money. And so those are the traits of a stakeholder at its best. Is we're all looking to be better human beings at work. It's not about the soft skills, it's about the human skills.
How can organization unlock innovation and initiative from their people?
Yeah, great question, Phoebe, because this is a big issue in today's business world. We talk about 2 words a lot: empowerment and engagement.
Yeah.
And the top-down pyramid scheme of the industrial age that still exists in most companies feels like it's their job and even their right to, quote, empower others.
Yeah.
So I'm going to empower you, Phoebe. And that's so distorted. There's so much wrong with that. I don't know where to start. Because you have power. You already are powerful, Phoebe. You're as powerful as you're ever going to get. And I can't make you more or less powerful. Yeah. It's like I use the analogy, Phoebe, of an oak tree and an acorn from the oak tree. How can I make this acorn more of an oak tree? Well, I can't do anything more for it. It's got everything it needs to be an oak tree right there. It's in there. Yeah. And so I can't add anything to its acornishness. It's already everything it needs to be. What do I need to do? I can't empower it. All the power is right there. All I can do is engage the acorn. And so I can engage Phoebe. How do I do that? I give water, I give sunlight, I give soil, I give fertilizer, I give support structures. I do whatever I can to allow Phoebe to become the best oak tree she wants to be. And so it's about you deciding that you will use the power you have where at my place of work, because I have done everything I can to engage you with sunlight and water and fertilizer. And those are the things like decision making, treating you like an adult, treating you like a human being, allowing you to have mental and physical ownership, all those kinds of things. That's going to cause you to be engaged. And the number one thing that will start people being engaged is, I'm not going to make this decision for you. Yeah. I'm going to ask you to make that decision. Right. I will be here to support you if you don't know how to make it. I will train you how to make it, but I'm not making it, Phoebe. That's the beginning of unlocking engagement and making everybody into a great organization.
That's great. So this principle become even more important as organization grows. You've worked with both Fortune 500 companies and small businesses. What scaling challenges do they have in common?
Great question. I think the scaling challenges they have in common. Let me think about that. What comes to mind is that both of them will make more money at every level if they are human about the way they do business. Yeah. The biggest challenge in business is that we think it's what we call transactional. I give you shoes and you give me money. That's a transaction. And we think that's what business is all about. It's not. And it's provable. Business is not transactional first. It is relational first. And the transaction is only available and possible in the context of the more powerful relationship. So if I don't like you, I'm not buying anything you have. I don't care how good your shoe is. And most small businesses and giant corporations struggle with the same thing. A small business owner who's just starting out says, I'm a good plumber, I can make a buttload of money by just being a really good plumber. And then they see the guy down the street that they know is not a good plumber, and the dude's got a line out his door with customers. And our guy doesn't have any because he's mean, cantankerous, ornery, or doesn't understand relationships. And the same thing is true with giant corporations. When United Airlines ripped this guy out of his seat like 10 years ago to put one of their pilots in and broke his tooth and broke a finger or something, and he sued him for millions. And the CEO of United Airlines had 10 days to think about this and came on TV and said, this stupid thing, sometimes we don't understand that the people we're carrying are human beings. I mean, I'm a checkbook to them. And so that's a huge issue with every one of them. They've lost touch with their customer and the relationship side of business.
That's very great. So how can business grow without losing culture?
It starts with having written down your culture very early on. There's a company out there called Gore-Tex, or Gore and Company. No, Gore is the name of the company, and they make the fabric Gore-Tex that's a breathable fabric. The last time it looked like 6 or 8 years ago, there were 10,000 of them, $3 billion. Now there's probably a lot more and a lot more money. Very large corporation. In 1959, Bill and Vivian Gore started W.L. Gore in their basement.
Wow.
And they did it by first figuring out what is our culture. And that's how you make sure that your culture is sustainable, is you already have it. Too many people think that's stupid. I don't need that crap. I'm too busy making chairs. I'll figure out the culture stuff when I have 10 or 15 or 25 people. I'll get to that later. Too late. And here's why. If there's one of you and you have a cultural view of the world, and what I mean by culture is not the size and shape of people or the color or section. No, culture means, what do you believe about business? What do you believe about money? What do you believe about people? These are business culture ideas. And so if there's one of you and you believe people are smart and motivated, and you hire the next person without checking in, without them passing the test of your culture, and you find out they think people are stupid and lazy. Well, you believe your value is people are smart and motivated. They think people are stupid and lazy and dispensable. You think people are smart and motivated and really indispensable. You have lost your culture by one person, because it's like 50% of your business is now in somebody else's head. Think of it this way, Phoebe. If you were a business of 500 people and you didn't have your culture figured out, and in one day you hired a 500 more who had the exact opposite view of people and money and culture and company, I mean, your company would be destroyed. So that's how we make sure that it doesn't get screwed up later on. We figure out right now, write down what are the top 3 things you believe are the most important values in your business, and then start hiring people based on that first. Do not hire anybody that doesn't have the same 3 or 4 values that you have. Trust me, you will still find the people you need to make the shoes, but you'll find people who have your culture, and you'll never have to worry about it no matter how fast or how far you grow, because you're always hiring for culture first.
That's awesome. So what is the biggest leadership mistake during the rapid growth?
Yeah, the biggest leadership mistake during rapid growth, well, the biggest one comes to mind because I did this one, has to do with not understanding that rapid growth actually creates less money for you. So we went from, in one of my businesses, we went from $1.7 million a year to $9 million a year in 3 years. Huge growth, rapid growth on steroids. And we had to sell the company in a fire sale because we ran out of money. It's like, what are you kidding me? I didn't understand it at the time. And my accountant kept coming to me and saying, boy, you guys have a great profitability. You're really profitable. Well, great. Why is it we can't pay our people? There's no money in the bank.
Wow.
Here's the biggest mistake that we don't understand. The faster you grow, the less money you will have, because it's spread out all over your receivables and infrastructure and equipment that hasn't been amortized and all kinds of things like that. Amazon.com lost money, and I'm talking, Phoebe, hundreds of millions to $1 billion a year. They lost money for 10, 15 years. Why? Because they were growing so fast. They were putting all their money back into those things. They lost money every year. So that's the biggest mistake, is to think that, oh boy, we just got 3 great big new customers. We're going to go from $200,000 a year to $2 million a year. Yay! You're in trouble. You need to go get a loan. There's all kinds of things you need to do. That's your biggest mistake, is to think that fast growth is going to give you more money. just the opposite.
That's awesome. So another major part of your work focuses on community and peers learning. Through the Crankset Group and the 3 to 5 Club, you've helped thousands of leaders learn from one another. Why are mastermind groups so powerful?
Very simply, Phoebe, you don't even have to be religious. I mean, religious people understand the power of groups. You don't have to believe in a God. You just have to believe in mammals. And you don't get to not believe in those, because I can prove to you they exist. And I can prove that human beings are mammals. So if we just go at the very biological level, we're mammals, and mammals are made to live in community. And the most highly developed mammal is made to live in community more than any of the others. I didn't even know what a meerkat was when I saw this little documentary on these little weasel-type rodents. And they showed a meerkat got separated from its clan. They call them a clan. Their group, their community.
Yeah.
The camera people fed and watered the meerkat, and it still died. It died of loneliness.
Wow.
Because it's made to live in community. And so mastermind groups are so powerful because they run headlong into the stupidest idea that we've ever come up with in business, which is the rugged individualist.
Yeah.
Phoebe, we pride ourselves. I know I did it. We all pride ourselves in, I built this from it. I bootstrapped this from it, and it was all me and nobody else. And I never asked for help. And oh my God, you're crazy. I did that. And it was so stupid. What if we actually got into a group, 6 or 8 or 10 or 15 other people, where we could say 3 magic words.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where do you go to say I don't know, Phoebe?
Your group.
When I was being the rugged individualist, people would ask me, how's business? Oh, business is great. I'm dying inside, but I can't tell you that. I'm in cold sweats. I wake up in cold sweats at 2 in the morning. I can't tell you that either. Everything's great. We're all perfect. What if you had a place where you could say, I don't know? Because I've been in business, 13 businesses in 10 industries for 40 plus years. Phoebe, I still don't know. I just got out of my mastermind group this morning where they helped me with some things. So we're mammals. We're made to live in community, and it will so greatly accelerate your success to get with 10 or 12 or 14 other people, not even in your industry. In fact, it's better if they aren't, who will support you, and they'll come up with great answers for things you never thought.
Awesome. So let me ask the next question is, what common challenges do business owners discover they are all facing?
The common challenges. Number one is delegation. I don't know if that's number one. Number one in 1A is delegation and thinking people aren't as smart as I am, which is why we don't delegate. And I have a term for that, Phoebe. I call it a bad case of the nobodies. Nobody's as good. Nobody's as experienced. Nobody's as educated. Nobody's as invested. Nobody's as passionate. Nobody's as skilled. Nobody's as good as I am. Every home or business owner has that in common. And you can see where people begin to become successful in building a business instead of an income.
Yeah.
We talked about that at the beginning. An income producer has to be there so that the money comes in. A business owner can leave because they figured out other people are smart and motivated too. And I can actually go somewhere else, and this business will make money without me. So that's the number one, biggest, most common thing I see in business is a bad case of the nobodies. I have to do all this because those other people can't do it.
That's very good.
Until you get over that, it'll be self-fulfilling. As Henry Ford would say, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So if you think nobody else is as smart as you are, you're right. Good luck with that.
That's very great. So you've also challenged traditional sales thinking. Your book, Sell Less and More, flips traditional sales advice upside down. Why?
Because the traditional sales, again, there's a theme here. Guess where we got all our traditional sales tactics? From the industrial age. They were bad ideas then, and they're worse ideas now. So running around stabbing people with your business card, trying to get them to listen to you when they don't want to, spending all your time trying to get a stranger to like you. These are the dumbest, most time-intensive, labor-intensive, money-intensive things you could ever do. Stop it. Sir, the initial title of that book, the book is called Sell Less, Earn More.
Yeah.
And the initial title, again, before the publisher got a hold of it, was Serve, Don't Sell. And that's what we need to get back to. Before the industrial age, you sold to your friends, and they bought because you served them. And what you sold served them. Now we're told never sell to your friends. Well, you must be selling some crap then, because if you can't sell it to your friends, you shouldn't be selling it. So what if you never had to talk to another stranger again? What if you learned how to work with the people you already know to exchange customers back and forth. But the principle is stop this transactional view of the world. It is hurting you. It's killing your business. And figure out how to be relational and specifically how to serve people. So one of the challenges I tell people in business is when you're having a conversation across the desk with someone else, here's my challenge. Never again, ever talk about your business unless they ask you.
Okay.
Instead, ask 4 questions that open them up and get them to talk about themselves. And almost invariably, when you do that, people will say, hey, what about you? And now you can talk. But you've served them first.
That's awesome. I said, what are people getting wrong about selling?
Yeah. So what they're getting wrong about selling is they're trying to sell instead of serve. That's the number one thing that they're getting wrong is that, and as a part of that, 1A would be they're going after strangers. They're putting ads out on Google and on newspapers and radio and TV. They're selling to strangers. And the research shows that, again, especially for small business owners, 90+% of your customers come from people who already know you. 90%, Phoebe, 90%, let that sink in. And yet we're spending, where's our marketing budget? All our marketing budget is on people that don't know us. And yet 90% of the people we're going to get are from people who already know. So what if we just were kinder and nicer to the people and gentler to the people around us and figured out how to develop a marketing system that wasn't marketing at them. It was bringing them content and things that benefit them that would actually make them want to open up an email from you or a text from you or take a call from you because you're not selling. You're offering them, here's a paper I found that might be of interest to you. Here's a podcast, or here's my podcast. Or there's so many ways you could get people interested. And then they get to know you without you having to stab them with your business card. And you can get customers from that. But more importantly, find the simple thing here, Phoebe, for everybody, the shortcut, find the 4 or 5 other companies in your area that have all the clients that you want, that aren't going to be competitive with you, and get to know their owners and get to know why it would help them understand why it would make sense for you guys to create what we call, well, I'll just call it a strategic alliance, where anytime I get a customer, most of those customers, because of what you do, they're going to fit what you do. I'm going to send them your ways too. And you're going to send your customers my way. All you need is 3 or 4 or 5 of those kinds of relationships, and you can stop doing most of your very expensive marketing. And it looks like having lunch, having a barbecue, playing golf, taking a walk together. It's relational. Picking up a theme here.
Awesome. It's very good and clear.
There are some important backgrounds on that one as well. The number one thing you can do to do better marketing, which lands you more people, theoretically, the best marketing you can ever do is make a great product and deliver it with incredible customer service.
Yeah.
That is the best way to get more customers. Again, why? Because 90+% come from people who already know you. And if the people who know you don't like your product and think you're mean, they're not going to refer you. But if you make a great product and you deliver it really well and you're honest and you're kind and you're sincere and they feel taken care of, they want their friends to have that. So that's the best way to increase your business is make a great product and deliver it with kindness, and then be recent and frequent with those people. Have a drip system for how you're going to stay in touch with them by sending them podcasts or texts or emails or calls that they want to get. Never call somebody and say, I'm great, will you buy from me? Because they'll never take the next phone call. Call them and say, hey, I found this person who might be really good at being your front desk person, because I know you're looking for a front desk person. And Phoebe, I didn't make this stuff up. And neither did the guy I'm going to quote. But there's a famous quote out there that says, if you help other people get where they want to go, and you'll get where you want to go in life. Help other people get whatever they need, and you'll get everything you need in life as well. That was Zig Ziglar in like the 40s or 50s. It's the same principle. Help other people, and it'll come back to you.
What advice would you give someone who hates selling?
Stop doing it. Read my book. I would say read my book, sell less, earn more. Because that's the genesis of the book. I hate selling. I hate it. I have 13 businesses, and I was the number 1 salesperson in all my businesses. And I hate selling, so I had to figure out a better way to do it that was more fun. And I figured out that if I just stopped selling and I built relationships, that I would make a lot more money, and the phone would ring, and I wouldn't have to be getting hung up on or stabbing strangers with my business card. So the number 1 thing to do is stop selling and serve people you already know and help them understand why it would be valuable for them to send people to your company.
We are now entering an era where technology is changing everything. Artificial intelligence is reshaping organization everywhere. What opportunity excites you the most?
I think the opportunity that excites me the most is to figure out everything that our artificial intelligence can't do, which is a lot, and focus
Yeah.
on that. And the number one thing it can't do is be human. It's called artificial for a reason.
Yes.
And so there are so many things we can do to make ourselves stand out against the other guy who's 90%, she's 90% artificial intelligence in their business, and you're 40% artificial intelligence.
Mm.
But you have a line out your door because you make up for that with your humanity and the way
Yeah.
you treat people. So there's never going to be a way that artificial intelligence can replace that humanity. So that's the number one thing that excites me is figure out what it can do. This is an overarching principle in business, Phoebe. Anytime you're afraid of what the competition is doing, and so AI might be considered the competition, just ask yourself, what is it they can't or won't do? Right back to my initial question. Well, they can't or won't do this. I met a guy who ran a tiny little golf shop beside a giant golf warehouse. And he said, I was never more successful than when the golf warehouse moved in beside me. Because all I did was walk their floors and figure out what they either couldn't or wouldn't do. And that's what I offer my customers. And I keep a great relationship with them. And they send me all of their customers for the things they can't or won't do. That's how I found the guy. I went into the golf warehouse and I said, I want this little tiny, weird thing. We don't do anything like that. Go see Lenny. He's right across the parking lot. So that's what we need to do with artificial intelligence is do the same thing. What is it can't or won't do? Man, let's do more of that. Your business will thrive.
Awesome. That's very good. So do you believe AI will make leadership easier or harder?
Do AI? I think
Yeah.
I think in some ways it'll make it easier, but in a lot of ways it'll make it harder because we'll become lazy.
Okay.
And we'll ask AI to do the work for us. And the hard thing about leadership is looking someone in the eye and having a difficult conversation. I don't care how much AI you talk to, you're eventually going to have to talk to the other person, and you're going to have to sit down with them and say, hey, we need to have a conversation. And it might be hard for both of us, but we need to have it. I think AI is going to make it easier for us to try and avoid difficult, powerful conversations with other people. But again, Phoebe, the companies that really do that are still kind and direct with each other, they're going to make more money. So I think AI will probably, on the whole, make leadership harder and in some ways make it really a lot easier mechanically on the transactional side.
So, okay, what should founders be doing today to prepare for the future?
What should they be doing today to prepare for the future? I'd say the number one thing is if you don't have your big why clarified for why you exist, start there, draw that picture, spend an hour and write down your miracle. If you had all the time, money, and energy, what would your life look like? How would you do it? And then figure out how to get your business to get you there. That's number one, is figure out your big why. And then to prepare for the future is to take care of the present and not be afraid of. Don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of AI. The worst thing we can do to prepare for the future is to be scared of the future or bits of the future, or not even scared of it, but just ignore it.
Yeah.
Don't ignore it. Embrace it. Run toward it and figure out how you can use it to your advantage. We live in a world that's full of complex, adaptive systems. The economy, the universe, business, they're all these crazy adaptive systems that we can't control and we can't understand. So the number one thing we have to do is first know that we can't control it, can't understand it, and then embrace what we can know, what we can understand, and get involved and plug into the system and see how you can use it to your advantage going forward. It's going to change. As we said, the number one constant is change. So embrace it. Don't run from it.
Awesome. So ultimately, your work has always been about impact. You've influenced leaders around the world. What impact are you most proud of?
The impact I'm most proud of is the notes and the verbal, written, and other kinds of feedback I get that say this. And I'll quote one of my business owners who I worked with. Her business was doing $35,000 a year.
Wow. And
8 years later, it was doing $3.5 million.
Wow.
And I tried to fire her multiple times, but it didn't work, because I didn't think she needed me anymore. But she said to me she said, your book and your books and your counsel really helped her. No, I said, what I hear you saying is that my books and my counsel really helped you. And she said, no, your books and your counsel were absolutely transformative to me personally, and they also helped my business. So
Wow.
I get a kick out of when people say, thank you because I'm different.
Mm.
Because the reality of it is that's what happens. And what comes to mind is another guy whose business was 1.2 million
Wow.
10 years ago. And he called me in December. His business is now 120 million. And he
Wow.
said, I am a different human being. I don't give a
Wow.
rat's ass about your business, Phoebe. I really don't. But again, making money is killing your business. And if you take on the human side of this and you become better at being a human being, look out. You're going to make more money.
Okay. Awesome. That's very good. So, how has your definition of success changed over time?
Definition, great question. Yeah, to begin with, I was like everybody else. I bought off in the industrial age idea that money was the key to success. And if I just somehow got enough money, I would magically be okay. And once I started making money, I realized that wasn't going to make me happy. But that was my definition of success: was money was not a resource; it was the goal.
Yeah.
Because if I just get enough of it, I'll be okay. Well, it doesn't work that way. So success now to me is wrapped in the question, am I fulfilled? And am I living a significant life? Some people can live an incredibly significant life on very little money. And other people need a lot of money. Well, it's, whatever works, it's different for all of us. So, we just have to figure that out. And so for me, success has changed from the word success meaning money to meaning being fulfilled as a human being.
Awesome. That's very great. What keeps you motivated after building so many successful businesses?
Yeah. It's really this desire to continue to be of value in the world around me. The whole concept of retirement is a broken idea.
Yeah.
It was invented by Otto von Bismarck in 1879. Before that, nobody retired. So what keeps me going is the idea that if I'm here, it must mean that there's another day in which I can make some kind of contribution in the world around me. How do I live today? My life vision, my big why, is to live well by doing good.
Yes.
So I get up every morning and ask myself, how can I use today to live well by doing good? What can I do today? And one of them was Phoebe's podcast. Well, maybe I can say some things on that podcast that will be helpful to some other people. And that's how I will live well by doing good. So that's what keeps me going. It's not business. It's business as a vehicle for living well by doing good, by being transformative in the world around me.
Chuck, after building businesses, mentoring leaders, and challenging conventional business wisdom for decades, what's the most important lesson you've learned about building an organization that lasts?
Well, I think it goes back to what I shared before, is that we call it I didn't use this term before, but I've been talking about it, distributed decision-making and distributed leadership.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean? Well, distributed, just that. You distribute, instead of one person being the person who makes all the decisions, you have multiple people. So at the level of the corporation, you might have 3 people who are co-CEOs instead of one person. Why do we have one person? It makes no sense. You can have 3, and you get three times the input. And if one of them leaves, it doesn't create your business. There's all kinds of benefits to that. And so I would say that distributed leadership, get rid of managers and figure out what are the 6 or 8 things people actually need on a team of 7 people. I guarantee you there are going to be 3 or 4 people out of that 7 who will be able to deliver the things that the manager used to deliver. And so distribute the leadership, distribute the decision-making, and rehumanize the workplace that way. Now, here's a real simple example of that. Most people would say Jack Welch, he built the company General Electric, or GE, into the biggest company in the world. And then when he left, it fell apart. And that's because he did not actually lead. People think he was a great leader. He wasn't. He was a manager. He was a teller. Remember what I said earlier? Managers tell, leaders ask. Jack Welch was the teller. He was going to tell everybody what to do. And and everybody was codependent. They all checked their brains at the door, and they just saluted and did what Jack said. And they got away with it because Jack was a genius.
Yeah.
But then Jack left. Well, you're not going to be able to build anything sustainable with that kind of response. You have great leadership because when they leave, things actually get better. Because they've done a lot of training. So that would be my perspective on that: distributed leadership and distributed decision making. Train other people and get the heck out of the way.
Awesome. That's very great. So if every founder listening today stop focusing on making money tomorrow and start focusing entirely on creating value, how will their businesses and their lives change?
Well, I think, again, their lives will change because they have figured out what's actually important in life. That time, money, and resources are just, or time, money, and energy are just resources. Stop chasing money, stop dreaming about having more time, and stop hoping you get healthy. Those are resources. Get healthy, make money, and make time. But the only reason you'll want those three things, or any of those three things, is because you figured out why.
Yeah.
Why do you want more time, money, and energy? And your life will change when you are motivated by your big why instead of by making money.
Awesome. Sure. Thank you for joining us and sharing such powerful insights. One of the biggest takeaway from today's conversation is that business success isn't about controlling more people, longer hours, or chasing more revenue. It's about creating value, building ownerships, developing people, and creating an organization that thrives because of people inside them and not despite them. When leaders shift from managing people to empowering owners, everything changes. Thank you very much, and we're really glad that you are able to be with us today and share your great wisdom with us.
Well, thank you, Phoebe. It's been my pleasure, and keep going.
All right. So for everybody listening, thank you for joining us once again. Until next time, live with purpose, build with intention, and remember, the goal isn't to build a business that depends on you. The goal is to build one that thrives without you. I'm Phoebe. This is Talk to Phoebe podcast. Thank you very much. And bye, everybody. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Yeah.